Hello, everybody, and welcome to the playoffs. We have playoffs today. I'm your boy Keith Cork. I'm going to be hitting you with some lineup lock info. Here until lock. I'm just going to go ahead and pin that. So, you guys, if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask away in the comments. First and foremost, let me go ahead and address the attire here. No Bulls hat, no Bulls shirt. It's a day of mourning. No, it's not. That's not the reason. I am still a Bulls fan. I'll be wearing Bulls gear next time you see me. I have some photos with the family, some pictures with the family to take here in a little bit. So just trying to keep things clean. That's why that no hat to mess up the hair and no Bulls gear. So I know people will say, what's going on with Keith? Is he no longer a Bulls fan? And that's not the case. Of course it's not. We have a 4-game slate here for DFS, and it's going to be an exciting one. Obviously, playoff basketball. I am just so happy it's here. It's going to be so much fun. Not super duper interested in a couple of games on this slate here to open the series. I'd say actually 3 out of the 4 of them should be pretty competitive. So, it's not a bad slate at all. But we'll jump right into it. Not a lot has changed since the podcast. So if you listen to the pod, I'm going to be retreading a lot of the same stuff that we spoke about in that pod. So I do apologize about that, but that's just the way it is. I mean, when you come to playoffs, not a whole lot of injury news to stay on top of. It is what it is, right? People are going to play a whole bunch of minutes. The stars are going to play a bunch of minutes. We have 8 and 9-man rotations. So, there you go. But let's go ahead and hop into the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. And I just want to take a look because, I believe the line opened, looks like it opened 5 days ago-ish at -8 in favor of the Sixers, obviously. Went to -8.5, went back up to -8, and now it's back up to -1.8, -8.5 for the point spread. That's seems fair. I know Michael Fiddle talks about, the magic numbers or the important numbers we're looking at. We're talking about point spreads, and 7 points is really the one you're looking for here. The most popular ending, score there, I believe, is what that number means. Go listen to Fiddle's podcast. He explains it all. But this is -8.5. I think, obviously the Sixers have to be heavy favorites in this matchup. I didn't even know if the Brooklyn Nets were going to make the playoffs. They were losing a whole bunch of games in a row, and then they ended up getting a little hot at the end. They won enough games here to slip into that 6th seed and beat out the Heat. They get a date with the Sixers, which, I'm not super into the Sixers going far in this playoffs, but at the same time, I mean, they're going to beat the Nets. I don't think it lasts more than 5 games here. So moving on the spread, I mean, that doesn't really help me a whole lot with indicating anything. The total here looks like it opened at 216.5 about 5 days ago, and it's dropped to 214. So people are betting the under on this game. So that's something to obviously be wary of when you're talking about DFS and who you're targeting. We always want to see a high game total when we're targeting multiple players in the game. So this might not be the game you do that. And that tracks with what we've been saying, since the podcast, where I don't know if I can really stack up a bunch of guys in this, Philly and Brooklyn. Philly and Brooklyn game. There are a few guys I am looking at. I think you can absolutely look at Joel Embiid, who is very expensive. Like, don't get me wrong. He is 11-2 on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, he's 11-8. So, the most expensive guy on the slate by far. Don't think there's any surprise there. Again, Claxton, a good individual defender, but as my co-host who was that was saying that? Oh, Jamie was saying on the podcast, Claxton's more of like a switchable type of center. He's not really a guy that's going to like guard the post really well. So still having my coffee this morning. So I think that, it's pretty safe to assume that Embiid's going to have a pretty good game here. If this game stays close, I like it even better. And if you're going to project this game to stay close, as I said on the pod, basically, you're going to want to run it back with Mikal Bridges, because it's going to take Bridges going supernova for them to stay in this game, I think. There's just too much talent on the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't see the Brooklyn Nets hanging around a lot. This is the game that's, probably I'd be most likely to fade just because of the competitive factor. It could be a 15 to 20 point game within the third quarter, and then you're not sure if you're going to get the fourth quarter minutes out of those starters. And that's going to matter because, the starters are going to play 40 plus minutes if they have to. in these other games. So you're going to be losing out on a lot of value if that doesn't happen. But Embiid, I think, is a good play here. I did talk also on the pod about some guys I'm looking at on Brooklyn that have playoff experience. I think that's going to be important for the Nets to slip these guys in and let them play, a good amount of minutes just because the new guys that are in the playoffs. So they've got, Mikal Bridges, obviously he's been in the playoffs, so not too concerned about his playoff experience. Dinwiddie is a veteran, not concerned about him, but Claxton, he's the guy that maybe they want to get some more playoff experience. Cam Johnson, played for the Suns, good playoff experience already, kind of an older guy than people usually think. So I'm really not worried about him either. But like Day'Ron Sharpe maybe gets a few minutes here. Cam Thomas, they do have a few younger guys that they might want to get some minutes here. And I know what I'm looking at here for DFS purposes is Seth Curry at 3,700. I think, he is a guy that can absolutely step in and hit threes. What I can see happening in this game is that Philadelphia comes out to an early lead. Brooklyn's playing catch up, and they have to get those, shooters in there to really try to catch up in this game. So Seth Curry is a guy I'm looking at 3,700. Also looking at Joe Harris at 4,400. And if we're looking on FanDuel, we've got Seth Curry is 3,800 on FanDuel, so that's a good price there. And on FanDuel, Joe Harris is 4,000, which is a really good price. I think I lean Seth Curry either way because he is the guy that would more likely go supernova and score, 20 points on a bunch of threes. And obviously get that 3-point, a little bit of extra points there, DFS for the 3-point field goal. So I'm looking at Seth Curry. I think Joe Harris is a decent play as well. I'm not really playing any of the top guys here in Brooklyn. Really not into Dinwiddie with, Melton across the way. Not really into Claxton with Joel Embiid possibly getting him into foul trouble. I just don't like a whole lot on the Brooklyn side when you're talking about spend ups. Cam Johnson, maybe be the guy I would go to in like a GPP if you want to have a guy that's going to be pretty low owned in this game. If you're, saying, hey, you know what, people are crazy. This game is not going to be a 214 game total. This is going to be a 228, 230 game total. Then yeah, you can go ahead and get a Cam Johnson. I'd play probably Joel Embiid and Mikal Bridges for sure if you're projecting that. So not a whole lot of interest in this game, but some minimal interest. But that's our first game on the slate. The second game we got here is Atlanta, Boston. And let me just go ahead and pull up what the trends are there. I love DraftKings, by the way. I'm getting this from DraftKings. I love, if you haven't checked it out, go to their stats tab, betting trends. You can look at where the spread opened, where it is now, where the total opened, where it is now. The spread opened at 8 points in favor of Boston. We jumped all over that in the wager pass. It is now 10 points in favor of Boston, and it's gone straight towards Boston. There is no curve towards the Atlanta Hawks at all. So that's what we like to see there. Boston clearly favorites in this one. I do think, the Hawks are probably going to steal. I think 2 games in this series, honestly. I think, with their shooting ability, we saw it on display in the first couple of quarters in that play-in game against the Heat. They have the ability to just put up points in a hurry. So there is a possibility that the Hawks do take a game or 2. I'm going to say they take 2 from Boston. I don't know if it's going to be this game, though. I think Boston's going to come out ready to go. They've been waiting for this, and they are the odds-on favorites to, in my opinion, to win this, win the finals. So, I think that they come out here punching. There are some, obviously this is a good game though for DFS purposes. Let's take a look at the total and the way that's been trending. It's to open at 231. It dipped down to 230, and now it's back up to 231. So it seems like the odds makers pretty much had this right. 231 is a good game total compared to the other games we have on the slate here. So we have to, I think, look at guys in this matchup here and play a few. And one of the guys I'm heavily looking at on the Boston side is Al Horford at 5,700. This is a guy, 36 years old. They've been holding him out of games here and there during the regular season. Why do they do that, right? They do that to keep him healthy for the postseason. This is where he steps up and earns his money, earns his keep. So I'm looking for 30 minutes out of Al Horford. I know he's projected for like somewhere around 28. I think he gets a few more minutes than what people are giving him credit for here. I think this, again, will be a little closer than people think. That 10-point spread kind of scares me. We jumped down at -8. 10 points. It's just a little bit reaching, I think, for me. I think that it's easily the Hawks could, go and score a bunch of points in the first, quarter or third quarter or whatever. I just have a hot shooting quarter. and keep things close. So Al Horford at 5,700 though. I mean, I'm all over. I'll go ahead and give you a wager pass play that I'm on. I'm on Al Horford over 5.5 rebounds on FanDuel for 5.5. I'm sorry, over 5.5 for a whole unit. It was at minus 118 was the odds. It's now jumped to minus 130, which I still think it's doable there. So if you want to throw a unit, 1.3 units to win a unit on that, I think he's going to absolutely grab 5, 6, 7 rebounds. Going to definitely score 10, 11, 12 points. A couple blocks I think are in the works as well. Boston plays big, and so does Atlanta has that ability too with Capella, John Collins, who I'm going to talk about in a minute here, and Robert Williams. So and Okongwu. So there's big bodies on both sides. This is a good matchup for the bigs. So yeah, John Collins obviously has to be in your player pool or on your radar as well. He's only 5,500 on DraftKings. Hasn't had a lot of eye-opening lines. This season it's been kind of a rough go for him in general. Salute. No whiskey in my coffee, I promise. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough go for John Collins, but I think in this matchup here, they are going to need him to guard that double big lineup that Boston's going to run. They'll probably end up guarding Al Horford. So I think you can run a little bit of Al Horford and John Collins in lineups. I don't think stacking those two guys is going to take away from anything at all. I think, again, Tatum, I mentioned this on the pod, but I think Tatum at 10-6 is a guy that's going to go pretty lowly owned on this site because people are going to gravitate towards, Steph Curry. They're going to gravitate towards that later game, the Kings and the Warriors, which I don't blame them. That's insane. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think, Tatum's going to go under owned here. So if you want to have kind of a little bit of a contrarian pick here as your top pick, I do like Tatum a whole lot. I think Jaylen Brown on FanDuel is a great play. Jaylen Brown on FanDuel is 8,800 if I remember correctly. Where is he? He's in my lineup somewhere. Oh, that's why I'm like, wait a minute. He's 8,800 on FanDuel, so I would go ahead and get him in your lineups as well. On FanDuel, on DK, he is 9,500. But again, I feel like he's going to go a little bit under owned here because people are just assuming that Boston's going to shellac the Atlanta Hawks, which I don't know if that necessarily happens. I think you can look at Brogdon and Smart on FanDuel as well. The pricing for the Boston guys on FanDuel is a lot better. Brogdon's 5,900 and Smart is 5,800. So I think you can easily go to either of those guys on FanDuel as well. On the Atlanta side, obviously you can run. I think Trae Young's a fantastic contrarian play in large field GPPs. I think he's going to be even lower owned than a Tatum. Maybe you're looking at about 5 to 10% ownership. I mean, I really don't see a whole lot of people gravitating towards him at 9,600 on DK. On FanDuel, he is 9,500, so basically the same price. I think he's just going to go lowly owned, and we know this guy is capable of putting up big lines. Absolutely capable of it. Boston's a hard defense. But the thing is, you're not playing, you're not playing into what's going to be the ideal thing or the most optimal thing that's going to happen on a basketball court. You're playing against other people, and other people have this exact same mindset. They have this exact same thought about this game, and the way you take advantage of that in GPPs is you think, well, okay, how do I beat the ownership, right? And I know this is stuff that you probably already know, but just to kind of refresh you, right? You want to go ahead and get those guys that are lower owned and hope that they outscore. So if Trae Young outscores, Steph Curry, you're probably beating 30 to 35% of the field, which is huge. So that's a good little contrarian play. I feel like DeJounte Murray falls in that same category at 8,700 on DK. I believe he's similar on FanDuel. He's 7,700 actually on FanDuel, which is a pretty nice price either way. Even if you want to, he'll probably have higher ownership, so I'm probably staying away, but I think it's a decent price for him. I already talked about John Collins. But another guy I'm really eyeing here on the Hawks is Bogdan Bogdanović. If they do happen to fall into a hole early, how are they going to catch up to the Boston Celtics? They're not going to do it with their defense. The Hawks are not going to do it with their defense. So they're going to try to outscore them. They're going to throw Bogey in there, try to create more offense. And it could work. I mean, he's a very gifted offensive player. 5,300 on DraftKings and he is 5,000 only on FanDuel. So either site, he's a very good play. they just extended him if I remember correctly, so he should go out there and show out. Arnold's asking, how do I feel about Capella? He's fine. I mean, I feel like he's just one of those guys. You know what you're going to get from him. Let me just take a look at his game logs here, to see if that jives with just kind of my general mindset. I mean, there's not a whole lot of variance. He did put up 50 against Memphis, who was missing obviously Steven Adams. He put up 41.5 against Detroit, 36.5 against the San Antonio Spurs. He's putting up big lines against teams that I would assume he'd put up big lines against. 47.75 against Washington. Against Boston Celtics, though, let me see. This season, he's got 19.9 points, fantasy points per game, in 19.4 minutes. I believe they played each other earlier in the season, though, when he was kind of like his minutes were kind of up and down. I'm really not super big on Capella here at 6,500. I feel like he's fine. I'm not super into him, but thanks for that question, Arnold. I appreciate that. Anyone else has any questions, just hit me and I will try to answer them in real time. All right, so let's move on though, because I am talking a little bit too much here. I do want to try to hit you guys with some other thoughts. New York Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's take a look at what we've got, the line movement there. This is going to be an exciting game, by the way. I'm looking forward to watching this one probably out of any of them, just because I really don't know how the series is going to go. I do have a bet on the Cavaliers to win the series at minus 185. Which did shift in my favor. I did end up getting a better line than what it ended up with, but I have to lean Cavaliers. I just feel like they have more talent, but I don't know, from game to game who's going to win. It's going to be a really close, really competitive game. We've got a 5.5 point spread currently in favor of the Cavs. Let me see where we opened here. There we go. Sorry, I had to refresh. Okay, so it opened at 6. It's actually moving against the Cavs. So open at 6 5 days ago, and now it's at 5.5. So people are betting on the Knicks. But one thing to take with that line movement is the Knicks are a popular team. People put their money in them. Knicks fans love to throw money, just like Bulls fans. I'm in the same boat, guys. Your large market team have a lot of fans. There's a lot of, I call it meathead money on the on the Knicks and the Bulls and Lakers. I mean, teams like that. Just teams that have a really large following. So I'm not buying a whole lot of that line movement. I think, the 6-point line that open is fair. It is what it is. This line for the total opened at 215, and it's climbed actually to 217, which I can see. I can see that happening. This is two really good defenses. So it's kind of counterintuitive there. But you've got some real talent here. You've got Donovan Mitchell. You got Jalen Brunson. Obviously, Julius Randle. I think the Julius Randle injury news really made this line bump. That's probably what gave a couple-point bump here, is that Julius Randle is going to play in this game. And they're going to need Julius Randle to play well in order to hang around here. So speaking of which, do we play Julius Randle? 9,700. Again, it's a rough matchup here against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do like him on FanDuel, where he's 8,500. I've got him in my lineup there. But for DraftKings, where he's 9,700, I just don't. I think there's other guys I'd rather have. I'd probably even rather have. Hesitant to say that. I don't know. Between Trae Young and Julius Randle, kind of a toss up to me. I'll leave it at that. I think I'd rather have Trae Young myself, but just because of the ownership aspect. Because the meathead money filters through to DFS also. We've got a lot of people playing, Lakers guys, Knicks guys, Bulls guys, because there's just a lot of fans of those teams. So I do lean a little bit Trae Young there in that. I'm not going with Julius Randle on DK. FanDuel, I think he's a really good price. 9,100 for Jalen Brunson on DK is a nice price. I feel like if you wanted to play a star, I'd probably play that one. 8,700 on DK. I'm FanDuel, sorry. I'd probably play that star over Julius Randle. Although I do feel like Julius Randle, I'll play Julius Randle on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I'll play Brunson. Sorry about that. I'm talking too fast here. I do feel like they have to have Julius Randle have a really good game to stay in this. So I'm looking for that to happen in a few of these games here, because it's going to be a really good series. Donovan Mitchell, 9,800. It's fine. I mean, I think there's other players I'd rather play. We'll talk about another one here in a minute here. I'm not opposed to playing Donovan Mitchell, but it is what it is. Some guys I am looking at, though, pretty heavily in this matchup here. On the Cleveland side, I really like Jared Allen. I feel like it's going to be This big matchup kind of really sticks out to me. They have Jared Allen against Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein. I really do feel like you know Jared Allen's going to have a big game on the boards, and I feel like there might be a few more rebounds here and there for him, which is why I'm on his rebounds prop. But I do feel like rebounds, blocks. I mean, this is a good playoff game, good atmosphere for Jared Allen, in my opinion. The Knicks are going to attack the rim relentlessly. They're going to try to get Julius Randle in there. Well, he'll be shooting jump shots, but more so with Jalen Brunson, who's a driving guard. Maybe he gets a few blocks on him. But again, two good defenses, probably some extra, rebounds here and there. His rebounds prop open at 9.5, which really surprised me. So I grabbed that at plus odds. I think he's probably going to grab like 11, 12 rebounds here. Hopefully get you, 3 or 4 blocks. That's what I'm hoping for here. And I really do hope he doubles. I do hope he gets 10 points as well. And you're doing pretty well there at a 6,600 price tag. I don't feel like it's a giant ceiling type play. I didn't end up with him in my lineup here for a GPP, but at the same time, I feel like if you're playing cash, he's a decent play. Another guy I'm really looking at though in GPPs on the Cleveland side is Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert's going to get upwards of 30 minutes most likely here. He's going to play that 6-man role. He's going to play back up both guard spots. He's probably going to play maybe 34, 35 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and guess somewhere in that range, maybe even 36, 37. I mean, it's going to be somewhere in that range, which is really nice. Obviously, the guy has the ability to go off for 20 to 30 real life points. Absolutely a scorer. Is he going to provide those other secondary stats? That's the big question with Caris LeVert. And I think he is going to get some assists here. I think he is going to get some additional boards. As I said, there's going to be boards for everybody, I feel like, in this game. So I do feel like Caris LeVert at 5,700 is a very good play here on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 6,000. Little less enamored. I mean, that's a little bit more expensive, but still, I feel like it's a decent play. Okay, on the Knicks side, let's talk about those Knicks. They're so priced up on DK. I just can't find myself getting any of them. I mean, I already talked about Randall and Brunson. Barrett, 8,200. There's no way I'm doing that. I would. No, I don't even think it's good contrarian play. That price tag is just way too much. On FanDuel, 6,200, which makes more sense. Still not huge on him in this matchup, but it'll make sense. I mean, he's a good two-way player. It's just, is he going to have that offensive role with Randall and Brunson both in there? I just don't know about that one. I got to hurry up because we got Golden State Warriors and Sac to still cover, but Mitchell Robinson intrigues me at 6,900. I think he's a little bit priced up there on FanDuel as well. I'm just not on a lot of these guys. One guy I will point out on the Knicks is Josh Hart on FanDuel is 5,600. That's a smash play. I would definitely play that. He's going to play 40 minutes. He's a Tom Thibodeau guy. Going to get a whole bunch of minutes and contributes across the board. I mean, points, rebounds, assists, steals, all of it. So I love it. Let's move on, though, to the most exciting game of the day, which is going to be the Warriors and the Kings. And we are, this is going to be the most fun series in the first round. I can almost guarantee you that. We're just not sure. I'm not sure who's going to take it. I have Kings beating the Warriors, which the public seems to have as well. So I'm a little bit iffy about that. But the Warriors, I mean, obviously getting Wiggins back is huge. They're healthy. Previous champions. I mean, they've got a lot going for them. So it's going to be a very difficult matchup for the Kings. But the Kings could just straight out outscore them. And that's what I'm looking for here. Line opened at -1 for the Warriors. It briefly dipped to -1 in favor of the Kings. And now it's back up to -1 Warriors. Despite the fact that I believe most of the money is on the Kings. So, there's a little bit of reverse line movement there. So smart money's probably on the Warriors there, which I'm on, by the way. I believe I got them at +1. So, I would go ahead and lock that in. I feel like the Warriors, especially with the first game jitters that the Kings are going to have in this game, it's going to be an interesting one. But I do feel like Warriors are going to pull this one out, and we'll see how that goes. A road win to start the playoffs. Anyways, let's talk about this game from a DFS perspective. Yeah, Steph Curry, 10-4. 10-4, good buddy. I'm playing him. I don't think there's any second thought you need to think about it. If you're just hoping to hit the money, that's an absolute rock solid play. FanDuel too, he's 10-2. about 1,000 less than guys like Joel Embiid. I mean, there's just a whole lot of reasons with the game total and everything to like Steph Curry. Speaking of that game total, sorry, it's open 237.5. It's closing at 237.5. It climbed a little bit there to 239 and then it fell back down. But I'm waiting for the game in this series. It's going to be like 144 to 142 or whatever. I mean, that's going to happen at one of these games of the series. I don't think it's this one, maybe like game 3 or 4 or something like that. But that is going to happen. But yeah, Steph Curry at 10-4 and 10-2 on FanDuel is a fantastic price. On the other side of the ball, Domantas Sabonis, I'm stacking these stars in this game because of the game total and because I think this is going to be a very competitive game. Domantas Sabonis at 10-1. I mean, look, Kevon Looney, been attacking him pretty much all season. He's a very good player. Rebounds the ball really well. That's just his big plus on the defensive side. He secures that that possession to change the arrow. Now all of a sudden the Warriors have possession of the ball. That's the way you finish a defensive stand is you get the rebound and you complete the defensive assignment. So he is good in that respect, but he's not shutting down Sabonis. Sabonis is going to be dishing it. I know his point line's at like 20.5 or something like that, which is just too high. I don't see him scoring a whole bunch of points in this one, but triple-double is absolutely on the table. Probably going to end up with a triple-double. I could see him getting 12 to 14 assists here. I can see him getting upwards of 14 to 16 rebounds. Maybe definitely a couple steals, maybe a block. It's going to be, again, the triple-double bonus on DraftKings especially stands out to me. I do have him on FanDuel as well. He's only 9,800 on FanDuel, so a little bit of a price drop there as well. So I like him on both sites. I've got him in my lineup on both sides. I think the Kings need to lean heavily on him being their primary creator on offense in order to beat this Warriors team. I think that's the way you do it. So, slow it down a little bit. Let Domantas Sabonis make some good, wise, decisions with basketball, which he does more often than not. But it's still going to be a high-scoring game. He's going to find shooters. So it's going to be a lot of three-pointers. Let's see. I also really like Kevin Huerter, 5,400 on the Kings, obviously. I've got him on both sides, 5,500 on FanDuel as well. This is a guy, I mean, again, lots of threes in this game. Going to be a lot of transition threes. If he's hot and he's hitting his shots, he's going to crush this salary. Started the season hot, kind of cooled off a bit. He was injured a little bit here and there towards a little bit after the All-Star break, I believe that was. And so he kind of fell off people's radar, but he's super important to this Kings team, not just from an offensive perspective, but also from a defensive perspective with his length, which is funny to say for a team that gives up a whole boatload of points. But he is, if he's not out there, it's even worse for the Kings. So he's a guy that I'm looking at heavily on both sites. One other guy I'm going to throw out there also that you may not be on your radar, which I mentioned in the pod. Go listen to the podcast, by the way. We kill it every day. There's NBA games. There's a podcast. You can go find it on Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Sports Ethos, NBA DFS Today podcast. Go find it. Go subscribe. Listen in. Leave us a review, please. Kessler Edwards at 3,800 on DraftKings. I'm putting him out there in GPPs, 3,600 on FanDuel. I'd consider him there as well. Putting him out there in GPPs because I do feel like they're going to have to try to find somebody to slow down Steph Curry and Klay Thompson a little bit. And I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here because whoever ends up getting an assignment is going to be priced up and out of my DFS lineups by, game 2, basically game 3 maybe. At this point, though, I think it's going to be Kessler Edwards that's going to get that call. I don't know if he's going to play 30 minutes. I really don't see that happening. But we've seen that in the past where, there's a really talented shooter on the other team, and they just literally have a guy out there that's just literally there to chase around Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. And I can see Kessler Edwards being that guy, absolutely. They went out and got him at the deadline. He's been filling that role for them all season. Obviously you can look at guys also, if you want to fade me, you can look at, what's his name, Terrence Davis, also at 3,900. He's another guy that they could use in that role. But I feel like it's going to be Kessler Edwards that they're going to have. He's Terrence Davis is 3,600 on FanDuel as well. But I feel like it's going to be Kessler Edwards in that role. So, maybe he gets 28 to 30 minutes. and that's all I'm looking for. He should be able to grab some rebounds and score a few points for me. And you're gonna have to find somebody under 4K if you want to play all these stars, and that's my guy I'm going with. So on the Warriors, there's a couple other guys real quick here. We're about not very long to lock, 15 seconds to lock. Dante DiVincenzo at 5,200. I feel like it's also a decent play for the same reasons. If they're going to want to throw a guy on a Kevin Huerter that's hot, or on a De'Aaron Fox, that's going to be their guy they're going to go to. So also Gary Payton too, 4,100 might be that guy as well. But I feel like it's more Dante just because he's healthier. And there we go. We are going to be in lock here pretty much. I hope no news fell. I wasn't really able to tell. Usually there's not a whole lot of news because it is the playoffs. We pretty much know everything before the games start. But we do have live lock here. So I'm going to try to refresh here and just give you guys some idea on some of the ownership of the guys I've been speaking about to you. So I do have a FanDuel here open. I do have Anthony Melton over there, which I didn't mention. I apologize. I should have probably mentioned him. I believe that was actually Jamie's call, which I really liked. He covered the FanDuel section of the podcast last night. But Anthony Melton was only, 4,500 on FanDuel. So I went ahead and slipped him in. 14% owned. That's nice. I like that. Feel like he's going to play a very good role, very crucial role for these Sixers this playoff. So I do like that price tag, and I like that ownership a whole lot. Seth Curry, my kind of shot in the dark, almost a little bit here. 1.4%. I love that. Absolutely love it. I feel like the Nets are going to surprise people in what their rotation is going to look like. I think they're going to play some of these older guys that they have just sitting on their roster a bit more, just because they're going to help showcase them. So then the offseason comes, they can offload them in a trade. And they want to give themselves a chance to win too. So they want experience out there. And top to bottom, they actually have some pretty decent playoff experience. But yeah, Seth Curry at 1.4% is pretty nice. So those are the only two guys right now I've got on FanDuel. Let me go ahead and head over to DK. Obviously, it's only one game that's locked at this point, and I'm not gonna stay with you until the end of this slate. I'm sorry, guys. I do have stuff I gotta do. I already mowed my lawn, so that's a good news. But okay, on DK here, I've only got Seth Curry. Actually, he's 5.8% owned on DK, which I'm a little surprised about. Maybe if people are listening to me. I actually kind of don't like to play with that kind of ownership. I was hoping he'd be just like FanDuel, maybe 1 to 3% owned, and he comes in almost 6% owned. So people are wising up. I do think he does play, close to at least 20 minutes here, and we'll see what he does with those minutes. Hopefully he's hitting his shots, but that's the only guy I have in this early game, which I pretty much faded, as I told you guys. So that is it. That's what I'm going to do for you guys. That's our lineup lock show. Again, I am not wearing Bulls stuff because I'm getting pictures, not because I'm not a Bulls fan. I'm not mourning or anything like that. I expected them to lose, so I'm happy they're done. I didn't want to suffer through the Bucks Bulls series. But anyways, if you guys like and subscribe to this video on YouTube, you will get notified every time we go live. We are going to try to do this throughout the whole playoffs. I'm going to get a few other guys with me, hopefully, for future slates. You can follow me on Twitter. There I am right there. There's my Twitter handle. And obviously the DFS Today podcast, you can go ahead and listen to that, where we hit a lot of these things the night before. It releases the night before. You can listen to it then, or early in the morning during your workout, during your commute, whatever you want to do. So until next time, guys, hey, go get that money.